Welcome to the Talking ET, the show where we talk about sports, movies, pop culture, and more. In today's episode, we're reviewing the movie Obsession, starting with our non-spoiler review, followed by the full spoiler review. So be sure, if you would, hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube and follow us on Facebook to get notified of new episodes. So let's get into it. It is time again for movie musings. So I watched Obsession, and first I'll give the spoiler for review along with the rating. I come to my overall rating through a 5-category process, with those 5 categories being entertainment, story, acting, special effects, and action sequences. Now, if one of those doesn't apply as it does in this one, which action sequence don't apply, so we'll just take that one out. So an overall movie summary for Obsession: a shy, hopeless romantic guy named Bear makes a desperate wish using a mysterious novelty item called the One Wish Willow to make his longtime crush and best friend, Nikki, love him more than anyone else in the world. So the wish appears to work instantly, and from there it kind of snowballs, which we'll obviously get into more with the spoiler review that comes up later. So for the first category, entertainment value, I gave this one a 10 out of 10. It really had me hooked from the beginning all the way through to the end. Never looked at my watch once, never even thought about anything else. It doesn't take long to get going. The story, again, I give a 10 out of 10. While it sounds like a simple story, there's a lot of subtleties involved in the story that keep you captured, and even though you kind of know where it's headed, you don't know where it's all headed. It does have that 70s feel horror to it, like Hereditary, where it does start off a little bit with the story build up, and then it just goes bonkers as the further it gets through the movie. So again, the story 10 out of 10, acting 9 out of 10. Everybody in their roles did what they're supposed to do, even a little above and beyond with Nikki and Bear. The acting was incredible. Special effects, while there wasn't a lot of CGI, as evidenced by the $750,000 budget, the practical effects were incredible in this. And the sound engineers did a great job making you cringe almost as much as the visuals. Again, no action sequences per se in this, which was totally fine. It was still mind-blowingly good. I give it overall rating on this one a 9.5 out of 10. Probably one of the best ratings I've had in a while. But if you watch it, I think you'll agree. The theater was packed last night at 10:20 when I watched it. And so it was a great movie. I fully recommend this movie to everybody. Well, if you have to like a little bit of horror, because there is some horror elements in it. Quite a few actually. Some of these tend to be more suspenseful, but this one was pretty horrific, especially after the halfway point. But like I said, I recommend it. That is the finale for the spoiler review. Again, if you've enjoyed this spoiler-free review, then please like and subscribe, Facebook and YouTube. I'll throw the little things up with the reminders again. And thanks for joining me. And if you don't mind spoilers, go on and hang around for a bit. We're going to talk about it. So here's your 5-second spoiler warning. So click out if you care about that kind of stuff. Okay, welcome to the spoiler review for Obsession. First, we'll go over the key characters, which included Bear Bailey, which is the main character, played by Michael Johnston. Socially awkward store employee at a music store. He's pining after Nikki, has been for years. and he lives in his late grandmother's house. He can't get the courage to ask her out for a very, very long time, which his friend Ian, played by Cooper Tomlinson, no relation, he's a confident, arrogant friend and gives Bear advice, sometimes bad, most times bad, at least for Bear. But he is a loyal friend and seems to want to do anything for his buddy. Nikki Freeman is played by Indy Navarat. If I'm saying that wrong, please forgive me. She's a confident, sassy coworker and childhood friend of Bear, who you can tell have a very great relationship. Again, the writing did a great job of showing that these two really do love each other as friends, at least. You don't really know more, but they do love each other as friends and have a lot of fun together. And she is the central force for the obsession after the wish. Sarah is played by Megan Lawless. She's another coworker and friend. Come to find out, she does have her own feelings towards Bear, and she gets drawn into all the chaos as well. So we're going to start off with the beginning, which is the setup and the wish. So the story in itself does a good job introducing this tight-knit group of characters. They go out together, they hang out, and they work together. So if you do all that, you do have to be very close friends, and they all work at a music store. Bear's intense love and long unspoken feelings for Nikki, but he repeatedly fumbles confessions to her to try to basically ask her out. He just cannot do it, no matter how much Ian tells him to do it. And after some setbacks, personal ones, his cat dies, and another failed romantic where he cannot ask her out again. Nikki loses her crystal. He goes to a store, like a store with crystals and astrology and all that kind of stuff. He goes there to buy her a new crystal. Can't find one that he likes for her, but he does see a box that says One Wish Willow. It's a novelty toy, quote unquote, and it's just like a twig-like item that supposedly grants one wish when it's broken in half. So he gets that. He brings Nikki home from the bar. He can't bring himself to ask her, even though she asked Bear, "Do you have feelings for me?" And he's like, no, I feel like we're just such good friends. And then he can't make himself do it. So he gets mad. And out of frustration and probably just folly, because he just obviously doesn't think this is going to work, he snaps it and wishes for Nikki to love him more than anyone else in the world. Well, the wish activates immediately because you get this really cool shot of her standing on the porch in shadow, just staring at the car. And she comes back out to the car. She's much more affectionate and pursuing him, trying to get him to come in. And he won't, so finally she just says, "Can we drive? I can't go in there." She says her dad has cancer, so he feels bad, and they go to his apartment. So initially, Bear does obviously enjoy the attention, and their relationship turns romantic. And you get a little montage of them going out on dates, having fun together, blah, 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 blah. But Nikki's love escalates from there and becomes extreme possessiveness. She's invasive, controlling, erratic, sociopathic, and violent. She puts herself into his life. Ian and his friends start to think that maybe he's taken advantage of her because of her father's cancer that she says he has, which we grow to learn he does not. And she starts alienating his friends, showing some red flags that start to get very horrifying, actually. At one point, she guilts Bear into taking her to a party Ian was trying to test to see if she would let him go anywhere. Well, she wouldn't. She went kind of crazy, so he just said, how about you go with me? I want you to. I love you, and all that. As you've seen probably in the trailer, she has that extended laugh, which even and especially in the scene is hauntingly terrifying. And they're playing some kind of Jenga game, which I didn't know. I guess you pull the thing out and there's actually something on the Jenga piece that you have to do. And one of them was Bear had to kiss the person on his left. Well, that happened to be Sarah, which we find out Sarah does have feelings for Bear early in the film. And Nikki immediately stands up as everyone's looking at her, and she just starts like she's reading something on the Jenga thing, but it's something she made up, some horrifying poem, which is dead silent in there. And but she goes over, pulls Sarah's chair back, it's just dead silent. You hear the chair scrape on the floor, kneels down and gives him a kiss. And then she kind of goes even crazier as the real Nikki pops back in, which terrifies everyone, especially Bear, because he saw that when they were first making out on the bed and she snapped back, and it was really crazy how that happened. And but she starts hitting herself in the head, and it was just pretty nuts. So Bear realizes that there's some kind of supernatural manipulation, desperately tries to reverse the wish. He calls the number on the back of the box, and a guy answers who sounds like some kind of surfer loser guy, talking him through, but you can't reverse it. And then he says, would you want to talk to her? He's like, what? He goes, do you want to talk to Nikki? And all of a sudden you just hear screaming over the phone, which is when he starts to realize that it might not be the same person that he is with, but his love for her still is blinding him a little bit to the full realization. The entire group becomes affected to the point where he can't even leave the house. He is absolutely scared to death of her. She makes his lunch and says, calls him his little food critic. And on the back of the paper it says, what's the verdict? : cat, which means she gave him his dead cat to eat for lunch, which, it's just so much messed up stuff in this movie, which is really awesome. But eventually he's laying in bed with her after she calms down, and he's just laying awake, and Sarah texts him and says, I need to speak with you. And he's like, no, I can't. And she's like, if you don't come meet me in the park, I'm going to come over. So he goes to get up, and he starts walking towards the door, and he hears Bear, and he turns around, and the being that's inhabiting Nikki's body is asleep. So it's actually Nikki talking. He hears, just kill me, please. And it freaks him out, and she's screaming, please, please. And he leaves to meet Sarah. So Sarah reveals that she got her last letter to get into school, and they're talking, and she admits that she does have feelings for Bear. And while this sets it up, and it's going to happen, the way they film stuff with the thirds. So her head is on the third, and the window is all open like this. But then that glass breaks, and Nikki just starts pounding her head off the steering wheel until it's mush. Again, the practical effects were top notch in this movie. And Bear's left in shock, and she starts baiting him again, like, no, it's okay, I'll take care of it. So anyway, They're back at the house. He comes back to the house, and she is there. And he goes over to Ian's because she said, "Well, I'll take care of it. You go to Ian's," like he was supposed to be doing. And he tries to tell Ian what's going on. And he went to the store on the way and bought 2 more boxes of the Wish Willow. Had a good interaction with the owner, just like the first time with not the owner, but a worker at the store, just like he did the first time. So he gets 2 more, goes to the house. First, he tries to explain to Bear that he needs him to make a wish for, basically to try to undo the wish that he did. Well, Bear doesn't believe him, going crazy, and he just takes it and says, "I want $1 billion," and breaks it. Well, all this money just starts falling out in wads around him, and he leaves, and he heads back to his house. He walks into the living room, and she took care of Sarah by bringing her home, stripping her of her clothes, and putting her in a chair, covered in blood and mess and everything. And he turns around, and he comes in, and before that, he does see Nikki first, and she's a mess. Now, and then you see Sarah, so you know why. And they start talking a little bit, and it gets crazy. And then Ian comes over. He's knocking on the door, and he's like, "Guys, let me in. I got $1 billion." And she is screaming at Bear, saying, "I'll do it." And she puts a gun to her chin. "I'll kill myself." And Bear comes in. He goes, "Guys, what's going on?" She doesn't even hardly look. Turns, dead. Ian's dead. Shot in the middle of the head, I think. Happened so fast. But he gets away enough, not like running, but he excuses himself to the bathroom. So there, he knows from what the second worker says that if he kills himself, the spell might be broken. So he took the gun that she used and was in there with it, tries to kill himself with the gun, can't do it, and then he remembers the pills that his cat ate, which was a nice callback to the beginning of the movie. The cat OD'd over some pills that he had that the cat got into him because the mirror wouldn't close all the way in the bathroom. So he takes the pills out and takes them all. And then he decides, as he's sitting there listening, I think he regrets it. So he tries to make himself throw up. He's trying. All of a sudden, he just sits straight up. And smiles and walks out, and he starts kissing her, and it pans down, which you knew what happened. Pans down, and she had broken and made a wish for them to be together. Well, while they're kissing, he starts convulsing, and the poison or the overdose takes effect, and he dies in her lap. She reaches for the gun because she's going to kill herself, and suddenly the real Nikki snaps back, and it pans away from her as she's sobbing and crying and doesn't know what's going on. And that's the end of the movie. Like I said, highly recommend. I actually hope you don't watch this. I hope most people don't watch the spoiler, because it was just a great movie. Setup, everything was awesome. I want to thank everybody for joining us on the episode of Talking ET today. If you enjoyed the show, again, we'd appreciate it if you would share it with a friend by liking, subscribing, and clicking the bell on YouTube, and sharing on Facebook, and following us on Facebook. That way, spread the word. And as usual, if anybody has any ideas for episodes you'd like me to do, reviews for movies, comics, music, TV, pop culture stuff, anything, just let me know in the comments. See y'all next time. Have a great day.